Hi everyone, welcome to Jawaras. In this video, we are going to create a project, which is this personal blog project. So, on this project is listed on roadmap.sh website. So, in this website, you can find many projects. So, all of these projects are related to backend. So, I just started doing these projects. So, okay. So, in this video, we will start doing personal blog project, but I will make multiple videos for this project. In this project, we will do initial setup and we will try to render our first screen without any data or anything. Okay. So we need to build a personal blog to write and publish articles on various topics. So in this blog, only admin can add new article or update existing article. Any other user should just be able to see the list of projects like this one, and they should be able to read the article or blog like this one. Now, in order to read the blog, user does not need to be logged in. Okay, so let's start. So I am in this directory, roadmap backend projects. So here I already created these 5 projects and you can find them on GitHub. I will paste the link. So in the same repository, I will create this blogs project as well. So all the projects for backend are in one GitHub repository. So I will put the link to that repository in the description. Now, in order to set up the project, I will use one tool which is TTCLI. So I'm going to use Springboot for backend and I will use Thymeleaf template engine. And if I need to do some styling, then I am planning to use Tailwind CSS. And if we need any JavaScript, any front-end JavaScript, then I'm planning to use Alpine.js for that. So I can use this CLI, Thymeleaf CLI, which is in short called TTCLI as well. So I've already installed TTCLI using Homebrew. Now I can show you that. If I say TTCLI, okay, so we don't see any error. That means TTCLI is installed. So the only command which we need to run is TTCLI. And now it will ask for some information. First of all, it's asking for group ID. Let's say dev.java.backend project. Then it will ask for artifact. So for artifact, I can just say the name of the project, personal blog. I'll just call it personal blog. Then project name, personal blog. Now we need to select the Spring Boot version. So I will go with the Spring Boot version 3.3.6. Then for live reload of the project, we can either use NPM or dev tool. I will use NPM. Now we need to choose the dependency which we want to use. So as I said, I may use Alpine.js later, but for now I will use Tailwind CSS. And we could use HTML, but in this project we will not go with HTMX or anything. Everything will be server rendered. So whenever we click on anything, everything will come from server. Then okay, we need to install some dependencies for Tailwind if we want. Now we can see that in our project we will need to work with forms. So I will add this Tailwind CSS forms, this dependency. Now it is generating a Spring Boot project. So it will execute some springboot command, some npm scripts. As you can see, it is using Node version 22 and npm version 10.8.3. Okay, so I will pause the recording for a while and I will resume it once it is completed. Now the setup is completed. So we can open the project in any ID we want. First of all, I will go to personal blog directory. And if we see, we have many files and directories created by the TTCLI. So let's open this project in IntelliJ IDEA. This is the project. Now I will explain the project structure for some time. First of all, we have pom.xml file here. Okay, so this is Maven project. Here we have specified the group ID, artifact ID, version, and relative path. OP Springboot starter, and this is the group ID, artifact ID, version, name for our project. Let's change the description. You can say my personal blog. Let's say website project, whatever. This is the version of the project. Now here we have specified Java version 17. I want to use Java version 21, so I will put 21 here. And then this is the version of front-end Maven plugin, which we will use later. This is the version of this version, this plugin. And front-end Maven plugin is used to install node npm and run npm commands in our project. So it needs the node and npm version as well. We have specified the node and npm version in these properties. Then here we have specified some dependencies. So we will go over them later. So okay, I will go in build. Now if you can see in build, this is the resources tab, and here we are excluding all the HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and SVG files from resources directory. So we don't want Spring Boot to copy these files into the build or target directory. Instead, we would like NPM to generate HTML, CSS, JavaScript, SVG, these kind of files. So for that, first of all, we are using this plugin, front-end Maven plugin. So we can install node npm and we can execute npm scripts we want. Now that we are specifying in plugin management section. So first of all, we are specifying the version to be used for this plugin. And after that, we are specifying a list of executions which should be run whenever we generate resources. So first of all, we are installing, so this the ID is install front-end tooling. So we can give it any ID. So, but here the goal is install node and npm. So this plugin has already defined this goal. So this goal will install node and npm from, let's say, node server, but this needs the version of node and npm to be installed, so that we are getting from this property. After that, the next execution is given id run npm install, and here the goal is npm, and we are not specifying any argument. So the default argument is install for this goal. So we will run npm install command. After that, the next execution has id npm, run npm build. The goal is still npm, but here we are changing the argument to run build. So now the next command will be npm run build. Okay, so what we are doing here is first of all we are installing node and npm, then we are running npm install, then we are running npm run build. Now we are configuring the profiles here. So this is the Maven profile. This is not profile of the Spring Boot application. So if we run the Maven command in release profile, in that case we are modifying this run npm build execution of this plugin. So if we see run npm build this execution, so all execution will remain same, but this will be reconfigured for release profile of Maven. Instead of running npm run build, we will run npm run build prod. That means we are building the npm project for or the node project for production, so that we can do some optimization in CSS and JavaScript and HTML files. Now, okay, so the next we have is package.json. So here we have specified some dev dependencies because those dependencies will be used for building the project on. They are not used in the production, so everything is in dev dependency. Now these are some scripts. So this is the build script for development. Then we have build prod script for production. Then we have this watch script. So if we are doing development and we want to watch files, so that whenever we change any HTML, CSS, JavaScript or HTML file, then our browser automatically gets updated. That's why we have this watch command. Now I will not go over all of these scripts. I will just point out some important things. So build command is basically running all these scripts with build colon prefix. That means all these scripts. So build HTML will copy HTML files into target directory. Similar thing will be done by CSS, but CSS we will do some post CSS things. For JavaScript, also we will just copy existing JavaScript files, and for HVG as well we will copy them. If we are inside production, then first of all we are creating one environment variable called node.env with value production. Then we are running all the scripts with prefix build hyphen prod colon. So these three scripts are same as these normal build scripts, but for JavaScript we are using minified flag for Babel. That means JavaScript will be minified in production. But we need to minify the CSS as well in production. That is being done using post CSS this configuration. So if we look at here, build prod CSS just runs build CSS, and build CSS uses this post CSS script, which is used by dev. This is, by the way, this is the configuration for post CSS. So post CSS is using these two plugins, auto prefixer and Tailwind CSS. And if we have environment variable node.env with value production, which we have in case of build prod, then we will use another plugin which is CSS Nano. CSS Nano is used to minify the CSS. That's it. Now this is the configuration for Tailwind. So in order to configure the Tailwind, first of all we need to install Tailwind. So that we are doing here, Tailwind CSS, and we are installing Tailwind CSS forms as well because we have added that as a dependency. After that, we need to add Tailwind CSS as a plugin for post CSS configuration. Okay, so I think these two are the main things, and then source main, let's say sources static.css. So this is the CSS application.css. Here we need to add these three directives: add tailwind base, component, and utilities. And we are already doing that. So that is the configuration of Tailwind CSS. So here we have specified the content where we will find the HTML file. So the content basically defines that where we define the class names. So where we are using class names. So that's based on the class names being used. The post CSS Tailwind CSS plugin can automatically generate the CSS class definitions, that means styles for those classes. And here we specify the plugins for Tailwind CSS which we are using. In this case, we are using this forms plugin. Okay, and yeah, we don't have many things here. We have this main.html, and so this is the main layout, and we have this index.html. So these are auto-generated, and if we run the application, it will work as well. Okay, so let's try to run it first. Java. Okay, we have two different packages. Home controller. We'll move to this package, and I will delete it. Okay, now we have personal blog application and we have home controller. So let's run personal blog application. I will run it. Okay, we can see Tom get started on port activity and no active profile. So there is no active profile for Spring Boot application. Let's go here and localhost 8080. We have white level error page. And why do we have that? Template might not exist or might not be accessible by any of the configured template resolvers. Okay, so the error is, if we look at this configuration resources, so we are excluding these resources from to be to be consumed by Spring. So Spring won't consider these files as resources and it won't copy them into target directory. So then how do we do that? So the answer is we need to run npm run build command. Okay. So the one way is we can just directly run npm run build command. But in this case, this npm used will be the global npm which is installed on my computer. But we want to use the npm which was installed locally for this project. So I have copied this npm script from some other project. If you look at the content, so this is the content. So what we are doing is we are trying to use npm from the current installation. So if I say /npm version, okay, we are getting some error because we need to use double hyphen. It says cannot find this module because I guess this npm and node are not installed. So okay, those are not installed correctly. If I say ls, I will just remove node modules. And if we look at, okay, I can remove the target as well. I will just first of all I will stop this server. Now we don't have anything generated. We can do that. Now this is a good place if you want to change the version of Node and NPM as well. So what I want to do is if I say NPM and Node version. So this is the NPM version of the system and this is the Node version of the system. So either we can use this version to install Node and NPM or we can choose some different version as well. Let's choose this version only 22.9.0. Okay, so Node version 22.9.0, NPM version 10.8.3. So the command which we need to use is mvnw, but mvnw is not executable. Chmod u plus x. Now mvnw generate resources. Now it will install Node and npm. It will run npm install and then it will run npm build as well. Okay, so now we can restart this Spring server. The Spring Boot application is working, and here I will say npm run build so that we can generate the resources in target directory. I will refresh it so we can see. Welcome to your Spring Boot with Thymeleaf project. This is the default content created by that TTCLI tool. Now let's configure the database as well. So we will use Postgres database. We will use Docker to spin up a database. So the Docker has been started. Now we will use one file which is called uh, docker compose.yml file, and that file will contain all the the images and pods and some environment variables. So I already created that file in order to run the Postgres database. So I will just copy that here. So this is the docker compose YML file. So we specify services. So first service name is DB. This is the image Postgres 12.20 bullseye. I'm using this version because I already used this version at multiple places in this computer. So it won't need to fetch this image from the Docker Hub. The image is cached locally. These are the four ports since Postgres database runs on port 5432. So I'm accessing 5432 to 5432 port. Then these are environment variables. So I will create one environment variable file. So .env file, and we need these three environment variables in there. So we can specify there. So it can look for .env file in the current directory and can take these variables from that file. So let's say vim.env. So these are I just pasted them for reference. I will delete them later. First is Postgres database. So I will just say personal blog, personal blog, then Postgres user. It's a dev, then password, and I will call it. That's a password, and then I will delete everything else. Now we can run this Docker container and say Docker compose up. So the Postgres database is running. Now we can connect to Postgres database if we want. But first of all, let's just add the dependency. So rest of the things like modeling our blog and rest of the things we will do in the next video. In this video, let's just connect our Spring Boot application with this database. So I will go to ID, which is here, and I will just keep form.xml. Let's go to start.spring.io. Now, whenever I need to add any dependency for anything, first I will first I go to Spring Initializer website to see the combination of dependencies. So what I need to do is I will use Spring Data JPA and Postgres database, PostgreSQL driver, and MySQL. No, we don't need MySQL. PostgreSQL will work, and we have added Spring Data JPA. Here, let's select Maven. This is the Spring version 3.3.6, and I will just click on Explore. Go to form.xml, and here we have these dependencies. So I can just copy these two dependencies. Sorry, not these two. These two dependencies, Spring Data JP and PostgreSQL. Let's copy them, and we can paste them in dependencies tab. Okay, now let's discuss the dependencies as well. First, we have Spring Boot Starter Thymeleaf dependency. Then we have Spring Boot Starter Web dependency. This is Spring Boot Starter Test dependency. Then we have Thymeleaf Layout Dialect. So this is used to use layouts in Thymeleaf. And then here we can specify web dependency. So this is generally used when we add some JavaScript libraries, let's Alpine JS, HTML, and these things. And we may use Alpine JS later on. So let's keep it here. So I will just comment it out. Whenever we need it, I will uncomment it. Now here I will add those two dependencies after Spring Boot starter there. Okay. And I will just try into one comment here, database connection. So these two dependencies are used for database connection. And if we just rerun the app, we will see some error. Mm, okay, we are not seeing because we have not refreshed the project. So it is resolved dependencies of personal blog, and that took few seconds. Let's restart the project, and we have this error that if you have database setting to be loaded from particular profile. So okay, what is there? Fail to configure data store. URL attribute is not specified. That is true as well because we have added the dependency for database, but we have not specified the configuration for database. And that we need to specify in application.properties file. So what I want to do is I want to create another uh, file for local profile. So whenever we want to run our application in local environment, we can use that profile. So not in the target. Here I will click on resources and new. First, let's click on file. I will call it application local dot properties. A file with the name. Okay. So application local dot properties is already present here. If I open it, we have spent time with cache false. Okay. So this is important because if we cache the file and if we regenerate, let's say we, if it is true, which is the default behavior, in that case, if our server is running, but we regenerate the HTML, CSS, JavaScript, or HCG files, then the Spring won't pick up those files. It will just keep using the old files. So it will store their content in memory and it will keep serving those content. So I can show you I can show you example of that as well. So for example, okay, I will show you that later. But first of all, let's configure the database. I will just say spring dot data source dot URL. So the URL will be postgresql, or sorry, first of all, we JDBC postgresql, then localhost 5432, then the database name, which is personal blog, then spring dot data source dot username, which is dev, and spring dot data source dot password. If we just run it, it won't work because it won't pick up this file. This file will be picked up when local profile will be active. So I will just go here and I will edit the configurations. This is the configuration. So we can use this environment variable. So what I will do is I will just choose one file. So and here we have personal blog. Here we can choose .env file. But since env has dot as prefix, so that is hidden, and sometimes it may not appear in your file browser. So I can choose this file. I will open it and then I will just change the name from .npm to env. Now, now we are using .env file as environment variables. Click on apply. So now what is happening is, let's go to .env file. So all these three environment variables have been defined. We can define one more environment variable, which will tell the Spring Boot project which profiles are active. So and the environment variable name is Spring Profiles Active, and we can say local. We can define multiple. Let's say local QA init, but for now let's just specify local and reload project, and it is working. And if we see here, we can say the following one profile is active and the active profile is local. If local profile is active, then application local.properties file is also read. So, and in this file, we have specified that these configurations. Okay. Now let's mark this true so that we use that Spring Thymeleaf cache, and I will save it, refresh it. Okay. Now let's go to first. Let's go to browser, refresh it. Okay. We can see this text. Now I will go to index.html file. First of all, I will close all files. I will open index.html and let's see with Thymeleaf and Tailwind CSS project. Save it And let's use this npm run build to generate the HTML file again. Okay. And let's reload it. Now you can see we don't see updated content. If I go to target direct target classes, then templates, index.html, we can see that the HTML file has been updated, but its content is cached in memory by Thymeleaf. So we don't see the updated content. But now if I go to application local.properties and make this false and reload it. Now if I reload it, obviously now I will see the updated content because we have restarted a Springboot project. But I want to modify it. Let's say Tailwind CSS and Alpine.js, and I will save it, and I will not restart the project. I will run npm run build again, and I will reload it, and we can see the text has been updated. So now I guess we have completed the setup of our project. In the next video, we will model our schema. So we will create some classes to represent the blog, and we will create the tables related to that blog in our database. So that is it for this video. Thank you everyone for watching. If you find this video to be useful, then please consider liking it, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel and share this video. Okay, with that, I will meet you in the next one. Bye.